Hello, everybody. So my name is Mike Rigby. I'm from RGA.
And I'm Sheri Klein from the Ad Council.
And we would love to talk to you about something very important today, which is this: love.
Love.
So we'd like to share a project that we're all very proud of that's involved all of Sheri's team, pretty much the whole of RGA, a brand and a social campaign that we created. It's been really, really successful. It's built entirely around love. Love of country, love of each other, and a celebration of love in all its infinite varieties. But before we share the work, we'd like to tell you a little bit about us, who we are, where we're from, and over to you.
Hello, I'm Sheri, fan of the Ad Council, fan of Love Has No Labels. A little bit about myself, I love my job. I've worked at the Ad Council for about 12 years. And what I love about this job so much is that it takes amazing minds from the creative industry and really pairs it with social causes through either government agencies or nonprofit companies. A little bit about the Ad Council. I think most people know us from, amazing icons like Smokey Bear or A Mind is a Terrible Thing to Waste. Huge, huge brands. But what people don't always know is that the Ad Council really has about 40 social issues on our campaign docket. And our mission is to make a measurable impact on those social causes through communication campaigns. So we really address issues like shelter pet adoption. This is a bullying prevention campaign. We work on things like texting and driving. It's on Us, which is a sexual assault on campus prevention campaign. We have, again, over 40 campaigns that really address some of the most pressing social causes, and it really is a love of what we do, and I think it speaks to our model. I mean, your conference is all about connections, and that's what the Ad Council is. We really rely on creative minds, partner, from advertising and design agencies like RGA, who's a fabulous partner with us. And we really match them with nonprofit and government agencies who tend to be our issue experts and provide us the content and fulfillment so that when we're asking the public to do something or providing advice or raising awareness, they provide that content. We work with corporate advertisers. We have a board of directors of over 130 companies that are very innovative that we can tap into for their own employee networks, their social channels, their own commitment to corporate social responsibility. And then we work with media companies and agencies because the Ad Council does not pay 1 cent for media. We have over $1 billion a year in donated media across all of our campaigns. So it really is this bringing together around social causes. I mean, what's not to love about that? It's very, very inspiring.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Mike, and so I work in New York at our RGA office. This is the spaceship, as we call it, about 1,000 of us there, around about 2,000 of us around the world. So my name is Mike, but most people at RGA call me by my surname, which is Rigby. So this is my little Rigby logo that I did on the first day at RGA. I needed a new screensaver. I had the same one for 4 years, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's probably the best thing I've ever designed, so my whole career is downhill from here. So we work with Nike. We've been working with Nike for about 16 years. We built the Nike Fuel, Nike Plus, etc. More recently, we built the Nike watch, so all the interface, design, and the branding, visually and verbally for that. We also worked with Beats as a client for many years, beautiful, iconic identity by Pentagram, of course. We built the music service, so we designed the brands, we built the whole platform, and then we did the Super Bowl spot as well. So we connected the kind of campaign work with the design team, and this is really fully integrated. So design, campaign, really working together, narrative and systematic thinking. We also have a ventures program. So by the end of this year, we'll have launched 100 businesses, 100 startups, out there in the world. This is from our first accelerator class, all kind of range of products. And really the vision here is to kind of move from making people want things to kind of making things that people want and really need. I really like Debbie's intro around branding, moving from this manufacturing meaning to other things and bigger things. So to follow Sheri's lead, I love my job as well. I don't just mean working at RGA, I mean being a designer. I think it's a kind of intrinsic part of my being, something I couldn't necessarily switch off. And I think what I love about design is that it isn't a job. It's a way of seeing things and doing things, and it's a way of life. So we have optimists, pessimists, and designers. So optimists see the glass half full, pessimists half empty, and designers see the wrong-shaped glass. And I show this slide all the time because I love it. I think it just summarizes, how designers can see things differently. And I love that you can apply this kind of designer mindset and way of thinking and making to any problem anywhere in the world. So how I kind of want to talk about for a second is this moment that we're in right now and how kind of different it is and how amazing it is. And I think we can see what's happening around us is pretty incredible. So the technologies that are reshaping our lives and our world. And I think what's so cool for us as designers is that we're seeing this kind of design being elevated. Like what design is and what it can do is becoming more and more and more important. And I believe there's never been a better time to be a designer. And I think when you see what's happening in the world around us, probably never been a more important time to be a designer either. One of my design heroes is Bruce Mau, and he has this great quote where he says that, now that we can make anything, what will we do? What will we do with this kind of incredible moment for design? How will we make the most of it as an industry and do meaningful work? So I'd like to, before we talk about the word, just talk about kind of how we think and how RGA's kind of been informed in a slightly different way. Bob Greenberg, our chairman, founder, started the business with his brother in 1977. And the first business card said, moving pictures by design. And so what he was doing basically was creating a motion graphics company. So this is Bob doing work with his brother. And the great thing about it was that they really had to invent a lot of the technology to do the work they wanted to do. Bob wanted to take great print work and make it move. But the technology was still fairly infantile, so they created a lot of their own software and hardware, and they did a lot of kind of famous campaigns, Superman, motion graphics, Ghostbusters, The Untouchables, Home Alone, Alien, all that kind of stuff. They won an Oscar. And that kind of intersection between design and technology has only become more and more important for us and more important for business. So it's our 40th anniversary this year, and that kind of integration of those two things has become how we work. Design is integrated into everything, as is technology. So how we work, how do we think? And so, because we're kind of informed by that kind of technology backgrounds, we talk a lot about technology habits. And so basically the brands of the last century were built around three fairly passive media habits and behaviors, which is reading, listening, watching. And through these channels, we built the great brands. The thing about these is that it's obviously very top-down in nature. A business or a brand, it has a message, and they go to an agency, they turn it into a metaphor, which is pushed out or pushed down into culture. And it's a one-way thing. And we know today in the connected age that we're seeing this kind of Cambrian period or Cambrian explosion of new types of behavior. Not just the traditional ones, from swiping to binging, to snapping or tweeting, and most importantly, to sharing. And what's great about all of these things is that they are very bottom-up in nature. So we're kind of seeing this shift from brands and businesses controlling the messaging and the story to this kind of emergence of bottom-up technology, where we now need to build brands still around the story is really important. Why are we here? What's our role in the world? Why should people care? But then connecting that to a system of some kind. And so this is our framework where we talk about stories and systems, and that's what makes a brand connected today. So not just great narrative thinking, but what is the function? How do we help improve people's lives? So Nike is not just about just do it anymore. It's actually help me do it. And so it's the combination of those two things. So interface is often the most useful thing that we talk about with identity today. It's kind of how you connect these things together. And so it's kind of caused us to rethink, I guess, the building blocks of identity a little bit or extend them. So we talk about signifiers and behaviors. So let's take a really obvious example. The Facebook brand is blue. It's in the grand, the typeface. But it's also this little button that gets pressed nearly 3 billion times a day. And so that little branded behavior is the thing that fuels the entire platform, keeps people coming back. And Facebook sells your likes to advertisers after all. So another more recent example would be the Google rebrand that was done internally. And so they designed their brand really about this new behavioral context, which was speech. So they say the future of the UI is voice. So they designed this whole visual language that shows how the identity works in this new behavioral context of voice. When we designed Beats music, one interesting thing was we designed a sentence here on the right, which was designed to bring emotion back to how you choose music. And what took us by surprise was that people just started actually taking a photograph of that and sharing it socially. And it became this kind of like organic campaign We didn't build that into the identity, and that was a lesson for us. So ever since then, we've always tried to build in that mechanic to actually have the brand succeed in this new social context. So, on to the work. Sheri.
Yes. So this is exactly why we partner with the people that we do, because they live and breathe this, and they understand better than anyone on how to talk to the public. And what we like to do is transition that away from a sale or a specific action that ultimately ends up with a bottom line into really thinking about social good and shifting the hearts and minds around key specific issues. So, how great is this, right? This is exactly how the genesis of Love Has No Labels started, which was just around 2014 in Sochi. The Olympics had a lot of LGBT protests, anti-LGBT protests were happening there. And Wendy Clark from Coke really saw, she had a brilliant idea, which was very innovative, to strip labels from products. So could key competitors like Coke and Pepsi remove their labels to stand together and show love? And she said, I have this great idea, it's called Love Has No Labels. Can the ad council convene, do what you do best, and connect us to a bunch of brands who'd be willing to do this? And we loved it, we got all excited, and we did what we don't have a GIF about, but I'm going to do that now. And we said, yes, we love it, but we're in the business of really creating social change, so what are we asking the public to do? So beyond stripping the label, what are we asking them to do? So we really started thinking, and we put it through our strategic rigor and some research, and we delved into, which at the time was an anti-discrimination campaign. So, discrimination is around us. Keep in mind, this was a couple years ago, and it's changing drastically by the day. But 1 in 5 LGBT Americans feels there's little or no acceptance of their community. 85% of students with disabilities have experience with bullying. 6 in 10 African American are not satisfied with how they're treated in society. These are stats we see all the time. There are many discriminated classes in this country, and we thought we could really do something big with the help of brands, a great agency. So we started talking to the public about it. So discrimination is everywhere, but when you talk to the public, everyone's like, yeah, no, that's agreed that it's a problem in this country, but that's not really me. The overwhelming majority of us don't feel like we're bigots or that we're discriminating. So how do you create an entire campaign around this? So when we brought in our nonprofit issue experts, we started to learn about implicit bias. Now, we're all 2 years ahead of the game here, so we're all much more familiar with what implicit bias is, but it really is about the assumptions that we make unintentionally. Avoiding eye contact with someone who has a disability, or making a joke, calling someone a girl as an insult. There are many ways that, based on a discriminated class, we make assumptions about people based on their age. Technology is one of them, whether or not they can drive based on their race. It's constant in our culture, and there's little ways through micro actions that we begin to chip away at that, but we have to make people aware of them. So why is this important? I mean, if nobody's intentionally being discriminatory and they don't really know about their biases, why is it important? Well, it's important because it really does trickle down into everything, really. So at the end of the day, when you have implicit bias, it can impede interactions. People have different experiences in a restaurant and how they're treated. Job applications, getting a job based on an identity label. There's study after study that shows if you strip the names, the rates of who gets that job interview significantly changes. Getting a loan for a car, of course, the justice system and the outcomes within, and then ultimately education at every level. Even kids in preschool get a different education based on their race, ethnicity these days. So we felt like there was a huge opportunity here to make a big impact with an amazing campaign. So the strategy of the campaign, RGA really led a lot of the research and the thought in this, was about combating bias with love. And what's amazing about this is, Yes, from a top-down approach, we want to promote inclusion to reduce that bias. And we also want to help the public flood culture with diverse images of love. So there's a lot out there of image of the struggle that people within a discriminated class experience. That is very real. What we wanted to do was norm the idea that diversity and inclusion and acceptance is a good thing. It's the positive framing of an important cause, and it's what made us unique. And what happened over time is that this became cyclical. So by asking people to upload photos or share their own experiences, we then make people rethink their own biases. So if you see two men kissing, then maybe your reaction isn't like, oh, that's weird. It's just normal. So that's sort of become the strategy of the campaign. We're now in our 3rd year in.
Fantastic. Okay, so getting into design, what an amazing brand to build a design system around. Combat bias with love. Try and build something that's bottom up. From a kind of design point of view, it's a bit of a design challenge because this was the origin. It was kind of, this isn't really so scalable. It's a beautiful idea, but there's not many brands out there that have packaging or industrial design as beautiful or as iconic as Coke. Also, the way that the Ad Council works is it's by donated media. So you can't actually feature any brands in any of the work. So we almost had to completely throw this out and rethink it. And most of the point, we really wanted to build a brand that wasn't kind of top-down and led by corporations, but that could create some kind of movement from the bottom up. So the identity system is so simple. It's basically the removal of a logo or the removal of a label. And we were really trying to build in that social mechanic from the start because we knew if this was to succeed, it would have to be shared by real people. So love has no labels, love has no race, love has no gender, love has no disability or religion. We'll show you how that was used a little bit later on. And we actually resist the temptation to overbrand it, because really the idea is that it's not a brand, if you know what I mean. Strange thing to say at the branding symposium. Exactly. So we wanted to build a brand around love. What does that mean? It just meant basically being a really positive brand. If you think a lot about not-for-profits and charities, they tend to be quite negative. Either they feel a little preachy, or they focus on the problem. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to just focus on the solution, positive images of love of all kinds. So when it came to the actual launch, it was such a great team working on this. Special shout to Chris and Eric and Nick Laura, Chief Creative Officer. It was a really great integration between design, branding, and campaign, all working together, all in. And the idea was so simple. It was, let's create a gigantic X-ray machine that quite literally removes the labels. And we'll show you how that works. Okay. I have to talk now because Sheri always cries on that video play.
I honestly cry still, every time.
So we're going to go fast, but how did this work? Why did it work? It was incredibly successful, and I think it worked in a number of ways. One, it's not advertising. It's not following the tropes of advertising. These are clearly real people that really, really love each other. So it felt real. No Love Has No Gender. You can see the verbal brand really working. So simple. Love Has No Religion, etc. And it was a great demonstration, and I think the audience participation was key.
Absolutely, and what we've grown to love about this campaign and know what's just as important as featuring the couples who are the brand are the people who are accepting it. So seeing people clap and show acceptance is exactly what this brand is doing, and it's become sort of how we view creative.
And again, back to that kind of system, like what do we do with this attention? You know, so we drive people to a website. We crafted a study and a quiz with Harvard University. So when you get there, there's actually something useful you can do. You can figure out if you are more biased than you know. You can see how it works here. We also created this really simple tool, which was so effective. Photo, you upload your own photograph, choose what you want to celebrate, and then publish to Facebook. And people really, really did share this all around the world. And brands could get involved too. And we just figured out the easiest way is take the labels off on Facebook, you know? So it just became, even that participation became incredibly social in nature.
Yeah, and then, you know, through out of home, I think, again, because we're one of the first campaigns to really show, you know, diverse images, people really took it on of their own. And so these are all around New York, and you see people uploading them to Twitter. So even something like an out of home is far more than just messaging to the audience. And of course, you know, I think this campaign launched just after Valentine's Day in 2015, and it went viral so quickly. The Ad Council had never seen anything like it before. We had amazing, you know, people tweeting about it. You know, the First Lady, we were like, oh my God, we don't know what to do. We don't have enough content to follow this up with. It really was a huge, I mean, it's a good problem to have. I'm not complaining about it at all. It was the second most viewed PSA in history, just, you know, 2 weeks after it had launched. The first was the Comey videos that launched the previous years. We have, you know, so many views, so many shares, so many likes. We're a couple years out now. But what I love to point out about this is that we have more shares than likes. This campaign has been about a badge for people to say, this is what I feel. I want other people to see this too, which to us it means we're doing the right thing, because it really isn't about advertising. It really is about giving them something to grab onto, and, you know, and evolving the campaign has been really interesting. So, sophomore album comes, and we're like, oh my God, there's no way we had Michelle Obama tweeting about it. And what RGA brilliantly did was, you know, they took diversity and inclusion, brought it to unexpected times and places in an election year.
Yeah, the vehicle that we chose for this was, I guess, the ultimate white male. So John Cena. So again, surprising times and places. And this is a very different tone, but it's, I guess, get people to really think, what does it mean to be patriotic? And we'll play the video.
Patriotism. There's a word thrown around a lot. It inspires passionate debate and is worn like a badge of honor, and with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. Love. For a word designed to unite, it can also be pretty divisive. You see, there's more to patriotism than flag sequin onesies and rodeos and quadruple cheeseburgers. Patriotism is love for a country, not just pride in it. But what really makes up this country of ours? What is it we love? It's more than just a huge rock full of animals like cougars and eagles, right? It's the people. Do me a favor. Close your eyes for a second. I want to try something out. Picture the average U.S. citizen. Think about it. How old are they? What's their hair like? How much can they bench? You got one? Okay. So chances are, the person you're picturing right now looks a little different than the real average American. There are 319 million U.S. citizens. 51% are female. So first off, the average American is a woman. Cool, huh? Is that what you pictured? 54 million are Latino, 40 million senior citizens, 27 million are disabled, 18 million are Asian. That's more people in the U.S. than play football and baseball combined. 9 million are lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, more than the entire amount of people that live in the state of Virginia. Around 10 million are redhead, 5.1 million play ultimate frisbee, and 3.5 million are Muslim. Triple the number of people currently serving in the United States military. Almost half the country belongs to minority groups. People who are lesbian, African American, and bi, and transgender, and Native American, and proud of it. We know that labels don't devalue us, they help define us, keeping us dialed into our cultures and our beliefs and who we are as Americans. After all, what's more American than freedom to celebrate the things that make us, us? I mean, it's stitched into the stars and stripes of this country. From the Constitution to Gettysburg, to our motto, E pluribus unum, from many, one. It's even in our country's name, the United States. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, disability, sexuality, race, religion, and any other labels. Because the second any of us judge people based on those labels, we're not really being patriotic, are we? So let's try this one more time. Close your eyes. Picture the average Joe or Joan or Juan or Jean-Luc. The real people who make America, America. And this year, whenever you feel the urge to don those star-spangled shorts, set off fireworks the size of my biceps to show love for our country, remember that to love America is to love all Americans. Because love has no labels.
So again, in an election year, I think we stayed above the political fray by talking about sort of our biases, what it means to be patriotic, and I think the print really speaks for itself. So when you close your eyes and you think of the average American, what does that really look like, and how can we shift that to be more reflective of a diverse nation?
That's Sheri.
That's me. I'm famous. Life goals.
And with the photo tools, we did the same thing, but this time we created a GIF generator. And so you'd submit your photograph, and it would automatically integrate you with lots of other Americans as well. So even the tool itself became a celebration, patriotism, people, all Americans. And then, last but not least, we want to talk to you about fans of love. So we've got 2 minutes, so plenty of time.
Right. Plenty of time with a 2-minute video. How do you go from John Cena? I think what we loved about it is it brought us an entirely new audience. So we really felt like, okay, let's continue. Diversity and inclusion, unexpected times, unexpected places. Let's find a lightning rod. The NFL it is. And so great, I should say the NFL was an incredible partner. They have the perfect audience for this. They were amazing, and we'll let the work speak for itself.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting point that Sheri makes. Surprising times, surprising places. So if John Cena was a vehicle for the last campaign, then how could we actually, integrate with sports? Sports is a great uniting force for us. And we had this idea of actually taking a very heterosexual behavior, which is the kiss cam, and this iconic moment in American sports culture, and playing with that.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. But if you throw me love, I'll feel some more.
If you have not seen that entire video, I encourage you to check it out. It's actually over 2 minutes, I think, but it really tells a much more beautiful story than even this. It's hard to believe.
And we purposely chose Orlando, so that's where the Pulse shooting was, obviously, and an incredibly traumatic time for the country, and these two are Pulse survivors. So just everything about it really worked for us. So we'd just like to finish, I guess, on a few final thoughts where we started at the beginning with this moment that we're in right now. And I think it is not like any other moment. I think it is different. And it's incredibly exciting, I think. I don't think there has been a better time for our industry to be a designer, to be working with people like Sheri and doing great work. And I think it's never been kind of easier to make a difference and never more important to try. And this was a really big theme that I felt last year in Vegas coming here at AGA, that design is a movement, not just an industry. And I think the interesting thing about this is that it always has been, From the arts and crafts to the Bauhaus, design's always been here. to kind of make the world around us a little bit better. And I think the most important thought is that actually we really need you, you know? You are needed. We really need clients, great clients like Sheri and the Ad Council and all the clients that are here today. And we need you. You know, there are more kind of problems than there are designers and creatives out there. And so please get involved and join us. Love Has No Labels. Please investigate the Ad Council. They do really great things. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks so much for listening.